Welcome to the Liberation.Tech podcast, brought to you by Jordan Nuance LLC and hosted by Dr. Renée Jordan. This podcast is a accumulation of Dr. Jordan's dissertation work and her passion for empowering Latinas, Afro-Latinas, Black women, and girls to navigate the academic and professional worlds with confidence and success. Whether you're a mother or guardian guiding a child through grades 6 through 12, an undergrad or grad student, someone working on a dissertation or thesis, or simply looking to carve out your niche in the career landscape, this podcast is for you. Each episode, Dr. Jordan shares her story, offers invaluable advice, and provides practical coaching to help you thrive in school, work, and beyond. Join our community on patreon.com/Black Liberation Tech and become a member for as low as $5 per month. As a member, you'll gain exclusive access to live recordings, impromptu academic and career coaching, and a network of like-minded individuals committed to mutual support and success. You're also welcome to follow Black Liberation Tech on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Visit black-liberation.tech for even more information on Dr. Jordan's adventure in Inglés o Español. Tune in, get inspired, and let's embark on this journey together. Welcome to black-liberation.tech, where your success story begins. So, I talked about the best practices. I talked about being flexible and taking in feedback. Here are some of the worst things you can do. Some of the red flags, if you will. Choosing committee members based on personal relationships or convenience rather than qualifications or fit for the dissertation topic. So just because you had someone as a professor does not automatically make them the best committee member for your dissertation. I had a professor for my seminar course, and she encouraged me to submit my work to a conference that was at Georgia Tech, and I got in and I was accepted. But when I was looking for that last committee member, she recognized that my work included qualitative research. And so when I asked her, she suggested that I find someone who specialized or had more knowledge of qualitative research because she focused on quantitative research and felt that someone else could do a better job. So just because that faculty member was an encouragement to me, helped me to get my work out there in terms of being able to present what I was doing. She was in the audience while I was there cheering me on, and it was good. And although I knew her, I had her in one of my classes. I did one of my internships with her. That did not automatically make her a good match for my dissertation. Now, if I couldn't find anybody else, she might have said yes, but instead of saying yes, she encouraged me to find someone else. And so I want to encourage you to do the same. Think about the different aspects of your dissertation. So your expertise within your field, the type of methodology you're doing or the type of study. Are you doing a quantitative study? Are you doing a qualitative study? Are you using mixed method? Does your department have someone who is a methodologist, someone who is well versed in the various methodologies that are available, the various methods of collecting data, the various methods of analyzing data? Does your department have a methodologist? Our department did not provide the actual research classes. We had to go to education policy studies in order to take our research classes. So both our quantitative and our qualitative research classes. And so I reached out to the person who served as my professor for my qualitative research classes to be on my committee, and she said yes. And so that was a bonus to me because while my advisor also did qualitative research methodologies and quantitative research methodologies, she was able to provide expertise as it related to various forms of qualitative research that he was not as familiar with or familiar with at all. And because he respected her as a professional and knew that she did quality work and would not sign off on something that was not legitimate, something that was not done well, then he was confident with having her on my committee in order to serve as an expert as it related to my chosen research methodologies. Now, you also don't want to wait until the last minute to get your committee together. So for my proposal, I needed to have everyone in place. And that required me to find one more committee member because I had my three, my advisor, my research methodologist who served as the co-chair, and my outside committee member because I met him during my first year. He served as a mentor to one of my classmates. And so I was able to get him on my committee. And so he was on my committee when I did my comprehensive exams. And so I needed to find a fourth committee member to fill out my committee for my proposal and my dissertation. And I was able to do so by digging and asking questions. Our department had recently merged with some other departments that included special education. And so I was able to look amongst the new faculty I was able to look amongst the faculty who are now a part of our department and find my fourth person. I asked my committee members who were at my school ahead of time about whether or not it would be okay to ask this individual, and they gave their approval. And as a result, I was able to reach out to him and ask if he would join my committee, and he said yes. So in addition to making sure that your committee members align with your discipline and your selected research methodologies, as well as the philosophies that you're learning as it relates to, for those in education, learning theories as well as ontologies, epistemologies, and the like. Make sure that you have people who are open and willing to look at different ways of knowing and being if you are not using Western philosophies. That's all I'm going to say about that. And so those who were on my committee were open, willing, and had expertise in other ways of knowing and being. And that was very helpful as it related to me being able to make progress on my proposal and my dissertation. You also need to be flexible as it relates to choosing your committee members. If someone is not responsive, that's someone who you might not want to have on your committee, because you need to know that they have eyes on your work in terms of responding to you. So whether that's, hey, I got your message and I need 2 weeks, or hey, I got your email and I need you to do something else before I read it, you want to make sure that they're responsive. And one way to test that out is to see how responsive they are if you have a class with them and you're emailing them questions. You want to have someone who's going to get back to you. You can also determine the level of feedback that you'll receive based on the feedback they give you on the work that you do in their classes. So if someone gives you feedback that you can actually act on and apply to the next assignment that you do, and as a result come out better, then that is someone who you really might want to consider to have on your committee. It's one thing for someone to fill out a rubric and to give you comments. It's something else for someone to give you feedback on how you can strengthen the scholarship behind your work in order to make a better argument or create a clearer picture for your audience. I'll give this example. Someone in our class was writing about a situation and trying to explain. They were observing a class that had an active learning setup, but the students weren't doing well in the class. And it wasn't until the professor asked another student to work with the student on their presentation that what the individual was saying became crystal clear. And this is how. He created a visual of what the classroom looked like. And so with the active learning, the students are facing each other. They're sitting in a circular table, if you will, and those circular tables are placed around the room, but the instructor was still lecturing from one side of the room, which meant that students had their back to the professor at times, and they were distracted with other things, including their cell phones, as opposed to being able to take in what the instructor was saying by actually facing them while they spoke. That's a big deal. If you're talking about active learning, you're expecting that the learning will be better in an active learning class than in a lecture class, because the idea is that the students are working on the material more than they're being talked to about the material in terms of a lecture format. And so that visual created an aid in order to help us understand the situation that he was referring to. So that revision allowed his work to be crystal clear. And so you want someone who's going to be able to give you feedback that will help your work to be crystal clear to anyone, not just someone in your specific field or your specific discipline, but someone, anyone, especially if you consider your grandmother, perhaps. If you're able to explain your work, and this was something that was told to me, I did not originate this. If you're able to explain your work in a way that your grandmother will be able to understand it and say, oh, well, this is what you mean, then you have reached the level of clarity that will help anyone as it relates to your work. So make sure that the committee members that you select are responsive to you. When you send them emails, are they replying in a timely fashion? Or do they just need a nudge? So perhaps you send an email, but you also send a text 2 days later and say, hey, did you get my email? I just wanted to check in to make sure that I'm on the right path. And sometimes nudges are needed because people have a whole lot going on, but you need someone who's going to be responsive. You don't want to wait to get feedback at your defense, because you can only do that so many times. Check your rules and regulations and the policies at your college to find out how many times you can defend your proposal. How many times can you defend your dissertation? Sometimes it's you can revise and resubmit, but if you don't pass at all, even a little bit, to the point where they're like, okay, if you just revise this, and that, then you can successfully complete it. That's not good. So make sure you know the policies for your department, for your college, for your university, as it relates to the number of times you can defend your proposal, your dissertation, your comprehensive exams. Those are important things to know. So remember, you need to be flexible when it comes to your committee members. If they're not responsive or they don't align with your dissertation, then think about alternative members or making adjustments. Think about someone who you might have connected with at a conference. Can they serve as an outside committee member? See what the rules are for your department and for your college or university as it relates to having an outside committee member on your dissertation. It's about finding the right fit, not just the easiest option. You want to make sure you're able to accelerate your process when needed. I had to step on the gas when it came to refining my proposal and getting my dissertation done. And so time management was definitely a factor. There's time blocking techniques that you can do. As a full-time employee, one of the things that I did, I would take half a days. I would put in my request to take half a days for 2 weeks at a time so that I could have time to focus and write while the sun was up. That makes all the world a difference to me. I can write well when the sun is up. When it goes down, I can work, but I'm going to have to go over it. It is not my most productive time. It's even better for me to go to sleep at 9:30 and then get up way early at 5 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then start to write again. But you need to block out time to commit so that you're sitting in your seat and that you're writing, that you're coding, that you're analyzing the data, that you're putting your findings together in a way that you can present them to others in a snapshot You might not be able to share all of your data, particularly if you're doing qualitative research, but you want to be able to present the data in a way that's manageable to others so that they don't feel overwhelmed looking at your findings and your results. Set many deadlines for yourself. Count backwards. If you know that you have selected, in my case, April 11th or April 12th, 2022 as your dissertation defense, then that meant I needed to count back 3 weeks to say I have to have my manuscript submitted to my committee by this date. That means when I counted back further from that, I had to stop coding and say, I can't go any further than this. I have to move forward. So like I said, I was coding up until like February. I had to move. I couldn't stay there because I was coding, yes, at the word level, but I had to stop. And I had to make decisions on what I would focus on. And so while I had codes and themes in different areas, I was not going to be able to focus on analyzing all of that data. I had to trim down in terms of what data I would consider. For example, when I decided on what data I would take a look at for poetic transcription, I focused on what my contributors were telling me as it related to feelings. And that allowed me to focus on data that was connected to human emotion. Thank you for tuning in to the BlackLiberation.Tech podcast, brought to you by Jordan Nuance LLC and hosted by Dr. Renée Jordan. We hope today's episode has inspired you and provided valuable insights to help you navigate your academic and professional journey with confidence and success. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, as well as rate and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. Whether you're guiding a child through grades 6 through 12, tackling undergraduate or graduate studies, working on a dissertation or thesis, or exploring your career options, this podcast is here to support you every step of the way. Join our community on patreon.com/BlackLiberationTech and become a member for as low as $5 per month. As a member, you'll enjoy exclusive access to live recordings, impromptu academic and career coaching, and a network of like-minded individuals committed to mutual support and success. Don't forget to follow Black Liberation Tech on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Visit black-liberation.tech for even more information on Dr. Jordan's adventures, available in both English and Spanish. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep moving forward. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.